Pleased to meet you. You must be Chuks.
Giuseppe.
Oh, oh!
Yeah, I'm Giuseppe Tafi.
My Italian stallion.
Yeah, it's me.
Yes, sir. You look too professional. Like, I feel like I'm under pressure. Pleased to meet you.
I just come from work.
Pleased to meet you. Relax. Make sure you've got your beverage, your device is connected. You don't want to miss tonight's show in any way, shape, or form.
You too. You look good. I see. You as well. You look professional.
I am. This is my home. Comfort of my home. This is my prayer room, right here.
Oh wow.
I have the full Godhead sitting beside me. But I'm good. I'm great. So yes, as we wait for the platform to warm up,
yeah,
I will. What will I do? Just make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. How do I sound your end?
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, no echo, no delay.
No.
All right, cool.
Yes, all right, perfect. Who would like to read the first line, which is a question? Who can read the first line? Morgan.
What about lightning, Jan? Tell me which. Tell me which light kind of.
It's a question.
Yes, which one? This one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, go back to that one. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Chuk.
Right here, read this.
What does being healthy look like?
Thank you.
Mr. Chuk is looking.
Yeah, he's muted.
Read the next line. Let me see who
They just wait for the platform to warm up, as I said.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can, King. I can hear you.
Thank you. The next line.
Oh, you look so nervous, man.
Hello?
Say that again?
Hello, I can hear you. I think it's the background, Chuck. That's all.
No, I can only see 4 people at a time.
Let me just mute. Right, speak. I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you, Chuck.
All right, can you hear me now? Yeah?
Yep, loud and clear.
Perfect. All right.
Perfect.
All right, how's everyone doing?
We're doing great, sir. Happy to have you as our main and most important guest tonight.
Oh, you are.
First thing. So we're just waiting for the platform to warm up. Yeah? How was your day?
Good. It was a busy day at work, but you know, all good, all good. I managed to I was just worried getting caught on the trains and stuff. I was thinking, I just got to I ain't even had, don't judge me, I ain't even had a shower since I come in from work. I've literally been home for like 20 minutes.
Oh, well, I ain't got that.
Wash my face.
You look fantastic in front of the camera. The camera loves you. And as far as I know, I haven't been able to smell anyone through this platform yet.
That's what I was hanging my hat on.
Yeah. So we're going to be joined tonight. I have Dr. Shaw. She's an awesome coach, and she's in Atlanta. So she'll be joining us. She's phenomenal in her stances and everything like that. And one of the platforms that I did, which was Soulties, she gave an awesome contribution, absolutely awesome. So the viewers fell in love with her from then, and it's been awesome. We've maintained a positive relationship since then. So she's going to be joining us tonight at some stage. So yes, we're back, season 2, episode 4, and I didn't quite finish until late last night putting contents together. So, and I had to go through it to make sure, well, you know, you're a contents builder, to you know, there was a flow to it.
Yes.
Yeah. And because we only had like a very short meeting, I didn't get the flesh that I would have liked. So I'm pretty much optimistic with what I'm coming with tonight. So let me just hit up some people just in case. Some people I need to. Okay. Yeah, just letting people know what time it is. Have you got your juice there, Chuck? Have you got your beverage?
Ever.
Excellent. Is your device plugged in?
All of that good stuff. That's good though, to be fair. When I do mine, I never ask that question. So that's a good one. No one's battery's died on me yet, but that's a good question. That's logged into my mental Rolodex to ask. That's a good one.
And you know what? Every week is a learning curve. I learn something new. So I always remind myself every week to make sure that I'm in check. Hello, beautiful Dr. Shaw. Yeah, so these are things that I learn as I go along to make sure, because I host the Saturday Bible study platform.
Right.
And last week, as I'm talking to you, I can see the lead in my laptop. All of a sudden, I see this thing flash up. But you know, the beauty of it is, had I had not had my face in that screen, I would have missed that warning.
Yes.
And believe that my device was connected, everything's running. When I look, Chuks, yes, it's plugged into my laptop, and disconnected from the wall.
Right.
Listen, I tell you, not today. The message was so juicy. I knew that the enemy was trying to do something in here, mate. Not today. Hey, Dr. Shaw, welcome back.
Hello. Yes. Thank you.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be here.
Yes, thank you. We're just waiting for the platform to warm up, as you know. So this is Mr. Chuk here. Well, on my screen, he's to my left. Just give a wave, Chuk, please. Yeah.
You all right?
Yes. So I'm mindful of, because of weather, people could be stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
And everything else. Because we don't normally have them this late, but still, we're here, and we're just going to look forward to a very informative platform. I'm hoping that the guests that we have joining us will be able to learn from it, as always, not be too shy, and want to ask questions along the way, and we'll see where we go from here. Let's see where we go from here. So how when did you launch your podcast?
I recorded I'd say probably mid-March, maybe end of March, possibly mid-March, I'd say. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of to be fair, I told this same story on the last podcast I released to the family podcast people. It started off as, it was just kind of a means to an end almost, an answer to a need that I had. It originally was a platform that I've got another platform that I started that didn't really go where I wanted it to go, purely because it was an avenue for me to showcase the conversations between me and my friends.
Yeah.
About the things that we speak about. And also, you know, as we get older, our lives are changing. You know, I get married, I've got a baby on the way. There in long-term relationships, or they've got older children, and we don't really get a chance to meet. And our lives just mean that it doesn't happen as often as it used to.
Yeah.
So a lot of the conversations we had was over the phone. So I kind of wanted to create a space where we would commit to a day a month or a day every couple of weeks where we meet up and talk and connect on that level. And also to showcase, you know, as especially as Black men, we don't necessarily, it's not really presented as much that we do have those vulnerable moments. We do talk about things on a deeper level. A lot of people feel like, from what I hear, they feel like it is all just laughs and jokes and football banter, but there are other things a bit deeper. So I wanted to showcase that that didn't happen just purely because, you know, as I said, the life that everybody has, it just meant that it didn't really, no one could really commit to that at that particular moment. So I just kind of created something that I could control myself. Maybe I'm a bit of a control freak, I don't know. But yeah, so I could kind of just focus on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, that's good that you have. What I like is when I hear people make a start on things and don't question the timing, just crack on with it, because you never know where it's going to lead. And really, if you look at what you do, it even though you started off as being something that you're passionate about, that you realize that it's never really about you, it's about the people who attracted to what it is you've got to say. So you actually become like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you start this, you have this domino effect because people want to hear what you've got to say. They're just waiting for that opportune moment for someone to open up and it resonates with them. And then it's like, yes, this is it. And then you find they just gravitate towards you because you're feeding a void. You know what I'm saying?
That's very true. It's funny because with my platform, my whole I don't know, ethos originally was I wanted to say as little as possible, and it was just all about kind of them sharing and me kind of asking the right questions to get what I felt like was good information for the people that are going to watch it. And the feedback that I got was, you know, obviously I find it difficult to shut my mouth, as you can probably hear, but a lot of the feedback that I was getting was that people kind of wanted to hear a bit more of my perspective on things and kind of to lead the conversation a bit more rather than letting it just flow, as that's what I kind of envisaged. So it kind of ended up me being more confident to kind of
keep going,
put myself in a bit more, you know?
And that's what you'll find. And I can totally, I can second exactly what that is, because like myself, but it's what people want to hear, because they're still not in that place where they're not willing, but comfortable to be vocal. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
A lot of people would much prefer to hear someone else speak exactly what it is that they've got going on inside of them, so they know they're not alone. Because when you hear it from someone else's mouth, it's almost as if it's like that remedy to I'm not on my own kind of thing, like a relief. You know? So I can see the platform warming up. So we got our Geminis, we got our Pastor Lloyd. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Pastor Lloyd. Janice is here. Dr. Shaw's with us, and King Joe. So I know that there will be people joining us along the way. And because we've had really bad rain over here, I put the onus down to traffic or public transport. And London's public transport isn't the greatest. Yeah. So we're going to plod on, respect to our guests who are here, and we'll take it from there. So, sins of the father. Oh, God. So welcome, everybody. Good evening for wherever in the world you are joining us today. You could be anywhere, but you chose to spend this hour with myself and my delightful guest. So I welcome all of you those who are first timers, thank you for being here, whether it was an invite or you have been lucky enough to watch previous recordings and want to be a part of this great conversation. It doesn't matter, you are joining me and my guests, and that's supporting what I do, and I thank you. So I do have some housekeeping rules. All shows are recorded, though we approach each platform with the utmost level of respect for our viewers. For this, I am mindful that there may be topics discussed that are sensitive and personal to you. However, I welcome your opinions and would appreciate if you could refrain from any hostile comments, as I endeavour to maintain a holistic platform to be openly discussed freely and from a place of authentic maturity. So if I please you, tell others, and if I don't, tell me. But go easy on me. Last but not least, I hope you enjoyed tonight. So the topic, as I said, the sins of the father. So joining me is my main guest, Mr. Chuk Wilson. Can you give us a wave there, Chuk? Yeah. And Chuk Wilson is the founder of Too Much Info Media Podcast. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah? Okay.
Perfect.
And again, I'd just like to give a warm welcome back to our favorite Sassy SoultiesCoach, Dr. Patricia Shaw.
Hi.
Thank you, like I said, for joining us, for accepting the invitation at such short notice. Okay, so what can I tell you about Mr. Chuk Wilson? Well, through my own personal trolling and stalking, and before myself and Mr. Chuk had a brief meeting to discuss what I can and cannot say, which is pretty much he's given me permission to go the full throttle, or being politically correct, the juggler, yeah, going for the juggler, all right, as it would. So let me just first congratulate you, Chuk, because you and your beautiful wife have just celebrated 2 years. Happy anniversary, happy second anniversary.
Thank you
That's
very
wonderful, wonderful to hear. I like that. And I'm not going to ask you your business, but happy anniversary.
much.
So, whilst going through your personal stuff, I've called you, from what I've read, Mr. Chuk, the analyst on life, yeah? And
Okay.
you'll come to know why I threw that in the title a little later on. So Chuk is a husband, he's a brother, he's an uncle, he's a content creator, a teacher, and like I said, he's the founder of a talented podcast called Too Much Info Podcast. So can I ask you, teacher of what?
I would say I'm a teacher of any lesson that I have. So if I learn something, I feel like my obligation, my responsibility is to share what I've learned with anybody who I care about, if I'm honest and blunt.
Great, great. I just wanted to know if it was a core subject, but you know what? That says it all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're you're also a blogger. So am I correct in saying your blog page is co-econ?
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring all of that over to the Too Much Information website. So that will be toomuchinformation.co.uk. That will be where you'll be able to find all my blogs.
Okay. All right.
In the process
So before I get straight into telling you, or you telling us a bit about your podcast and your blog, I'm going to read an extract that I came across from the Fatherhood. Yeah? And it reads this. He was entirely absent when I was at the age when I needed guidance. So, as a boy, as a teenager and as an adolescent, I felt I had to find my way in the world all alone, unequipped, ignorant, and undeveloped. Does this sentiment resonate with you, Chuck? Yeah? Did you hear what I said? It's not from your blog, but I'm just reading a quote that says, as a boy, as a teenager, and as an adolescent, I felt I had to find my way in the world all alone, unequipped, ignorant, and underdeveloped or undeveloped. And I asked, does this sound like you in any way?
So even when, I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
I did not. I heard the question, and it's interesting because I was there trying to wrap my brain, thinking, did I write that? Because it is. I definitely resonates. It's exactly how I feel. I feel, and especially the idea of kind of not having that guidance was definitely something that I kind of I experienced throughout my life, because my dad did leave when I was 2, so I have no experience of a father in that regard, who my father, let's say that.
Okay, so you said that he left when you was 2, but when did you actually notice your father's absence?
That's a good question. I would probably, there's a memory, I've got a memory of receiving a birthday card or a Christmas card. Maybe I was definitely primary school age, so I was definitely under 10 years old. And I've got a memory of reading this card and it's saying, I promised to spend the next birthday or the next Christmas, whatever it was, with you, and it didn't happen, right? So, but I don't have a memory of the next year waiting for that to happen, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
I always, when I analyze it and I think that maybe I had no expectation of that happening,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'd say the first time I really what's the word? That I really, there was any emotion attached to my father, let's say, that I can recall, was I was maybe 19. I was about probably 19, maybe 20. My whole life before then, I just kind of, he was just a figure that existed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. As we go along, I'm sure it will come back in mind. So, how did your mother explain your father's absence to you?
I'd say even as I've got older, it's maybe a bit of guilt on my part, because I just didn't ask and my mum didn't tell. So it was very much a situation that, it's funny, she never badmouthed him. All the information that I got was through I was raised the only child. So I was very nosy, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and so I would, if she was on the phone, I'd be hiding outside the door trying to listen to her talking to her friend, what they talking about. And so all my information was always got from little bits of one side of a conversation. And I think the only time my mum spoke about my father to me, unfortunately, it was in anger, but it was a bit of a harsh, like, almost, by that time, don't get me wrong, like, this delightful person that you're seeing in front of you now hasn't always been me. So I've been,
I know.
I've been through some stages in life. So I would say that there was a moment where my mum kind of, I don't know, I want to say maybe, I don't know if it was a comparison to my father or use my father to kind of characterize me, let's say. So that was really the only time that he was really mentioned, if I
Okay.
think that.
Okay. All right. I've got another extract from your fatherhood blog, and
Okay.
it reads this. When I really looked at fatherhood as a concept and what it involves, it is a painful thing for me to analyze. Yeah?
Mhm.
That was the first time, the first one. The second one is, as my friends and family, and especially my wife knows, I like to analyze people and situations. Yeah?
Mhm.
Number 3, people's motives, character, and flaws interest me as it helps me analyze and then understand myself. So
Mhm.
you have stated the word analyze 3 times
Mhm.
in this text, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate the reasons why, with us, the areas you have touched upon, and they are the concept of fatherhood. We'll start with the concept of fatherhood. So talk about that. What's that mean to you?
All right. So I would say that, like, just firstly, I'd say analyzing is definitely something that I spend a lot of time doing. I kind of, I attribute that to, as I said, being raised the only child, so having a lot of time on my own or inside my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's what I would attribute that to. When it comes to fatherhood, I think that because I was raised without a father,
Mm-hmm.
I've always, not always, but as I've got older, and especially as people around me, my friends, and as I said, family members have kind of started having children, and I've got a goddaughter, and like I start to think about, and I'm starting to look at other people's experiences with their father,
Yeah.
and it almost becomes a comparison. So I compare my view of the world with their view of the world, and then I analyze and try and work out whether the differences between us I can attribute to not having a father, or whether they are completely separate to that, and it's just some other decisions that I've made in my life personally, or that's how I analyze the fatherhood experience and how it relates to me. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess you kind of said people and situations entwines in that same analytic and analytical standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that just spills out into my whole life. So every relationship I have with people, every interaction, if not in the moment, afterwards, I'm one of those people, especially when I was younger, I would lie in my bed and I would kind of almost replay my day and replay my interactions with people and think about how I either came across or how well my message was conveyed to the person. Yeah, so I'm very much somebody who kind of doesn't just look at people on the surface level. And it gets me in trouble sometimes because, I'm not a psychic. So
No, not at all.
sometimes my analysis isn't necessarily right, or, or isn't conveyed in the best way,
Well, hopefully Dr. Shaw can give us a event later on as to why that the analysis, the analogy or the analysis, I can't even pronounce the word, would be your way of judging the world kind of thing. Because and I spoke about this on one of my platforms, about the formative years are the years that shape us as humans, as whether you're man or woman. So from 0 to 10, everything that is influencing your world is shaping you. The people, the sounds, touch, taste, smell, all of that, your environment. So hence why for you, analyzing, well, I'll let Dr. Shaw hopefully touch on that later on. So let's move on. So what does a father figure mean to you, Chuk?
Right. See, it's interesting. because obviously, as I said, I've got a daughter on the way. And
Congratulations.
so, thank you. So something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially over the past, I don't know, 6-7 months, more than before. So in the broad sense of the word, should I say, the only way it's been spoken to me was with the 3 Ps. So that's what was articulated to me. So it was provide, protect, and procreate, right? So that was my initial understanding, not through experience, but through a conversation that I had with an elder, and that's what they said to me. So I've held on to that for 20 years, let's say. And then as I've got older, I've been a bit more analytical and looked at people and looked at my friends' experience with their father and looked at, just had conversations with people and seen my friends' experience as fathers, obviously from the outside looking in. And now I've got maybe a little bit more of a, rounded view. So my view now is, yes, those things are still in there, but now I'm looking more at things like being an example. So for a son, I would say you would want to be the example of who your child would want to aspire to be.
Right.
And for a daughter, which I'm having a daughter, I view it much more like I think protector is definitely something I would want to be, but I also want to be the example of how you are to be treated and what you are to expect from somebody. But like I said, I'm also, because of not having the direct experience, I still have the doubt in my mind, because I also don't want to be that person that kind of narrowly creates expectations of my child. Yeah, exactly. And that as well.
Don't overcomplicate.
Yeah.
Your dad in your life with your child, because that can bring on resentment too. I'm in the same position. I understand totally what you're saying. I'm in the same predicament. I saw my dad when I was 3 last, and then at 16, and I'm 51 now. He's dead. And how I heard he was dead is they were asking me to contribute to his funeral. Why? What did you contribute to my life? The money you spent not minding me and my sister, who are yours. Bury yourself with that. And over the years, I've discovered 10 siblings I never knew of.
Yes, that's my life there.
You understand? And that is hard, and it sounds weird, but I'm Nigerian, as you know, Diana, right? That's why I don't even go near Nigerian men, because it could be my brother. Them kind of things.
That's my
when father or mother, they think it's just them leaving, but they don't see the bigger picture, such as siblings can meet up, fall in love without knowing, because most of my siblings that I've discovered don't have the same surname as me. Thankfully, my mother said, well, he's your dad, you're going to have his surname, because I didn't sleep with my dad for her to give me her dad's surname. Do you understand? So that's kind of a saving grace, but it's deep.
Wow.
That's definitely something that resonates with me, because as I said, the only information that I heard was through fastening up myself and listening outside of my mum's door when she's talking to her friends. So the bits that I was hearing were things like, it was, he did leave and was with a white woman. So that the only, especially when I was young, that was the information that I had. So my whole young age was spent avoiding mixed race girls, right? So just in case. So that's why when you said that, I completely understand what you're saying, where, don't get me wrong, you know, like there was a couple of times where, you know, I ended up going down that road. But as a general, as a general rule, that was something that was at the front of my mind. Very much afraid of getting into any sort of relationship with somebody that could potentially be my sister.
Absolutely.
You've touched on a very deep and profound you've touched something very deep and profound. Definitely pause that thought there, Jem. Yeah, and thank you for that contribution. Very powerful, and also meaningful, because I can hear it still anchored in you. That I don't want to use the word loss, but it is in a way. It is in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because.
But we're saying that my mum remarried when I was 8, and stepdad was there until my mum passed almost 3 years ago. But it's me and him was always at loggerheads, and every time I can think of 3 occasions where he brought strife between me and my mum, because he would say things like, "You're a bastard just like your dad." Do you know what I mean? Things like that. Even down to the funeral times, there was contention and things. So that really, do you know what I mean? I wish him well, because he was the male figure that I did not lack, but I could have done as well as I'm doing now, with or without him, if that makes sense. Especially when you're throwing those daggers. And he went, my mum and him went on to have 2 children of that, you know what I mean, my step brother and sister, who from the same mum. But I know the way he treated me and my sister was totally, you can see. And like with my sister, his child, there's 11 years difference, and with my brother, his child, again, there's 14 years difference. So I was old enough to see the difference. It's not like when you're close in age, I was practically grown, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? So you could definitely see the different ways we were treated. So yeah.
You see, you never know the direction the platform's going to go in. And that bulk there was very it is very good area to touch on, and thank you for that. But we're going to get back to that very same point. So I just wanted to read some facts here that was written from they're called the Children's Bureau, and it's facts about father engagement as opposed to non-engagement. Yeah, so I've just pulled some out the hat, and these are statistics. And it says here, children who feel a closeness to their father are twice as likely as those who do not to enter college or find stable employment after high school. 75% are less likely to have teen birth. 80% are less likely to spend time in jail, and half as likely to experience multiple depression symptoms. So with this, I didn't want to just have statistics from the UK. I've asked Dr. Shaw if she could give us some examples across her side of the pond. So Dr. Shaw, can you just give us some figures that you've come up with in terms of boys dropping out of school, unemployment, teen fathers, incarceration, please?
Yes, I certainly can. Well, in the United States, and I take my statistics from our, the Department of, some of these are coming from the, oh Lord, from an article, The Vital Importance of Paternal Presence in Children's Lives, dated 2012. And it says 7 out of 10 high school dropouts are fatherless. 39% of students 1st through 12th grade are fatherless. And then This article was written in April of this year, 2020, and it says psychological effects of growing up without a father. And this gentleman that wrote this article is an author of a book, and he's telling his story about growing up without his father. And so the effects that he noticed were, one, they are more likely to be aggressive, more likely to be depressed, more likely to have low self-esteem, more likely to do poorly in schools, more likely to be incarcerated and to commit suicide, and more likely to use drugs. So I see that it's relevant across in both countries. So there's really no difference.
No, not at all. Thank you for those statistics, Dr. Shaw. And
You're
you know, statistics are important because it really lets you delve into how these things are affecting and how they affect an individual in so many ways. When you think it's nothing and you're handling it, the statistics are there to back up the findings. Hold on, let me just make sure that. Can you mute whoever that is? Someone's just joined us. Okay. Yeah, so I always like to you know, have these statistics ready, available. I've come across some more as well, and I think this kind of ties in with Dr. Shaw's statistics as well. Children with actively involved fathers are 43% more likely to earn A's in school and 33% less likely to repeat a grade than those without engaged dads. So it's very clear how important, well, you know what, I can say that's a double-edged sword, because although we're looking here at grades and stuff like that, I just wanted to ask you, Chuk, at any time did you encounter any of these statistics mentioned during your, you know, from the years which you could become employed, be a teen father, incarcerated, and what was the other one? The other one was dropping out of school. What was life like during those years?
What I'll say is definitely that I think a lot of those statistics definitely applied to me. A lot of, I would say that there came a point with me anyway. I don't want to kind of generalize in the sense that this is my experiences, everyone's experience that grew up without a father. But what I will say is that with me, there came a point where I was, what's the word? I always characterized it as being mollycoddled or suffocated almost by my mum's brand of protection. All right, so there was an age maybe around, I would say 13 probably. Maybe it started younger, but where I felt the need to experience life as myself, without the need of. As I got older, I'm kind of just all over the place, but it's an interesting question, because this is how I kind of made sense of it in my mind. As I said, analysing it at a later date. I analyse it. My mum's idea of protecting me was to almost wrap me up in cotton wool to make sure that nothing could hurt me. Right? So she didn't want, like, when I come home from school, I weren't allowed out. When I wasn't allowed to go stay at nobody's house. It was very much like, stay in the house, don't chat to those people, those boys are bad, or those, don't do this, don't, like, it's very much like keep you away from any dangers, right? And what I later on came to see just through being around other people and seeing their fathers father them, I realized that the way that what I would characterize as a good father protects their children is by arming them with the tools and experiences to deal with the dangers that they can see. Because both parents are scared, both parents worry about what things can happen to their children. But from what I've seen, there are two different ways of doing it. I mean, there's obviously loads, but you know what I mean, two general groups, right? So I ended up definitely rebelling against the idea of being wrapped in cotton wool.
Yeah.
The reason why I made sense, the sense I made of it in my mind was that I was not prepared for my environment, because, you know, my mum was raising me by herself. She had to go to work. So obviously from the hours of 8 o'clock to whatever time, 6 o'clock, let's say she got home from work, I had to navigate my environment. And the skills or the protection that she offered me didn't prepare me for that. You understand?
Yeah.
So it prepares me, now it's prepared me for the stage of life I'm at now. And that's why I'm very much an advocate of a two-parent household, mother and a father, able to kind of provide that balanced view of the world.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, because I do have the unconditional love, I do have the nurturing, I do have all of those things that I believe a good mother has to provide for their child. But I don't know how I would I don't want to not take responsibility for my own part in it by saying, you know, the lack of self-discipline or the lack of all these other things that I feel like could be attributed to the absence of a father being there. Because once I got to a certain size, there was very much just, I can take the licks if they're gonna come in it. Like, yes, my mum, she was a strong woman and she made sure that she put the work in on me when it was necessary. But there did become a time when, you know, I got to the size where I weren't never gonna hit her, but the fear factor was kind of gone.
Yeah.
Her parenting was relying on me caring about disappointing her.
Yeah.
And once that isn't a tool you can use, I can just kind of do what I want and take the consequences when they come, you know?
Yeah.
That's why that's why she had at 17, that's why I was out.
I understand that totally. I do. And you said something, you know, so powerful, like in terms of with the mum, your mum nurturing you. She taught you about the emotions and that kind of. What she didn't teach you was that strength of a man. And as much as we as mothers, and there are those who are both, have to be mum and dad, we cannot do what the fathers can do or should do. And that can be quite dangerous later on. And you use that word mollycoddle, and that wrapping our sons up in cotton wool kind of thing, because we know we have to give them that bit more because daddy's not around. We're going to look into some of the side effects of that as well. So you mentioned again, why, I'm going to ask you, why has analyzing your father helped? And you wrote here, analyzing my father has helped me understand myself and my latent flaws. But what it hasn't done is made me understand what it takes to be a father.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, sorry, go on.
I just want to just read something else as well. It states this, and I got this from the Daily Mail. I think this was 2018. And it says, growing up without a father could permanently alter the structure of the brain and produce children who are more aggressive and angry. scientists have warned children brought up only by a single mother have a higher risk of developing defiant behavior, including drug abuse. New research, and this was carried out by a Dr. Gabriella Colby, who carried out this research with colleagues at the medical faculty, said this is the first time research findings have shown that maternal deprivation during development affects the neurobiology of the offspring. And it is said that there are, well, this is enough, there's more than, it is said that more than 1 million children in the UK currently have no contact with their father. Yeah, some of it is just through absence, some of it is through domestic violence, yeah, drugs, all of that, those things that have been exposed in the home. And just for the record, it is also feared that growing up in a fatherless household could have a greater impact on daughters than on sons. So this is where all of this is moving now, in terms of, we always believe, and I speak for myself, that men needed their father figure around, the presence of a father, more than a woman. As long as the woman had their mum, that was like, it was easier for a woman to get through the psychological growth of having that female presence. But it seems now that they're saying that it's more detrimental to a woman or daughter not having her father around than it is for the son. So that's just, again, statistics. So just going back to where I stopped you about, you know, why has analysing your father helped? If you just want to shed some light on that for me, please.
All right. So for me, it's helped me in the sense that all right, let me just to quickly just give a little bit of background. What happened is that obviously I didn't see my father. He left when I was 2. Lived my life, whatever, life happened, and then my mum passed in 2014, sorry.
Sorry to
right?
hear.
No, it's no problem. So 2014, my mum passed. So, and just magically, I think maybe 10 days, a week before the funeral, my phone rings and my father phones my phone. Apologizes, says he sends his condolences. We get back in contact, right? So we get back in contact, and he's very sometime-ish, you know. We'll talk and then we'll not talk, and then he'll answer a message and he doesn't answer a message, and it was just very inconsistent, is the word I'm looking for. Obviously, I don't have expectations of the man, but I'm very much caught up in this idea of respect, and I felt disrespected. So, you know, we had words. I made my feelings clear, but throughout the whole communication, I was very much, my idea of how a son or a child should be to their father is respectful. So I always started messages with sir. I always said hello, sir, and I was very much maybe overcompensating in that regard. So I didn't want to approach my siblings without him making the introduction. And then after our conversation, I just said, you know what, you don't necessarily deserve that respect. So I kind of went behind his back and kind of, not behind his back, but I went on his Facebook, found a sibling and made contact with her, who is my younger sister. Through her, I found out that kind of like Gemini there, I've got 10, I think I've got 11 siblings, but 1 died. So I think I've got 10 that's alive now. And so through her, I made contact with lots of the other siblings. There's some I haven't met, some I haven't had any contact with yet, but that's, anyway. So through that process and through the communication with him And then through the conversations I've had with the siblings that I have met and have spoken to, I have built an image, or my picture of who this person is. Somebody who, the same situation that he created with me, he created 3-4 times before my mother, and created 3-4 times after my mother. So, and then I've been able to actually communicate and conversate with the products of those relationships and build some good relationships with the ones that I've managed to have meet or speak to, and have seen the fallout and the consequences of his actions. Now, also as well, what I do just want to, I do want to just be completely transparent. I see a lot of him in me. The bit that I do know, the conversations that I had with him, the things that I've heard from my other siblings, I see a lot of him in me. A lot of the things that cause conflict between me and my mum growing up, a lot of those things, just to kind of add a little thing. When I did meet my sister, the first thing she said is that I looked exactly like him. And I always thought I looked like my mum because obviously that's all I see. And then I met my younger brother, and he got in the car, and I was talking to my sister about something, and I talk with my hands, and I'm very expressive in that way. And he was like, because they're in Liverpool, so he's like, oh, you talk just like my dad. You like the words that I emphasize. It was so interesting to me that the things that I always thought, okay, when I see somebody act like their parent, I assume it's through copying their parent, through growing up with this person in the house and, I don't know, imitating, right? What I found in that one interaction with my younger brother is that these things are inherent in me or inherited through me. So, yeah, through my DNA, right? So, to go back to answering your actual question, it was so important for me to speak to my siblings, and the relationship that I've got with them, they've been very transparent. I've been very transparent with them. And what listening to their pain has done has, I believe, has stopped me in my tracks of making those same mistakes. Because growing up, I always characterized him as this kind of, I don't know, philanderer who was just out there breaking hearts and intentionally causing pain. And what seeing him and then analysing myself has been, it wasn't that, it was cowardice. He was somebody who couldn't live up to the expectations, and when he was found out through not being able to live up to those expectations, he ran and hid. And I've got that in my character. I know that, and without seeing the consequences of that behavior through seeing my other siblings and having bitty relationships with him, I could have quite easily continued that behavior and created that same experience for my children. So that's why I say the analysis of my father has made me feel more confident in my ability to deal with, even if I experience some of the same things that he does, I feel like I would, or I know, let's use some positive language. I know that I won't repeat the same mistakes, or I won't deal with those mistakes in the same way. Let's put it that way.
Wow, thank you for that, Chuck. Much appreciated. And yeah, I'm feeling it. I got a personal message from someone that didn't want to put in the chat, and they're saying they're very emotional. They're very emotional right now. They're on the platform now, and they're very emotional. So you can see how where you are resonates. It's real life, as Gemini herself has been able to mirror and understand from her own experience. Dr. Shaw, can you just come on board here for me, please? In your line of work that you do, you know, your relationship coach, when you're trying to bring some amicable togetherness in your therapy, do you ever come across, for the man or even the woman, that they feel that their behavior has stemmed from an absent father, like this, you know, is there an attachment to the therapy that you do in your relationships?
Yes, I do see quite often in couples, when we are really looking at their history, things that have transpired. One thing that I will say that I've noticed, and it's a statistic, men who grow up without fathers, they tend to cheat more. And I'm not saying it's 100%, but there is a statistic that relates men who grow up without fathers, that they cheat on their wives. And I believe there is a scientific study that says boys who grow up without their fathers, it affects or alters the social activity, how men relate to other people when they grow up without a father, which is why it's so important that a woman who is raising a male child get a male mentor for him, because with these statistics that talk about dropping out of school and the aggression, I don't know if you see it there in the UK, but in the US, I see aggression in young boys without fathers, because as Chuk said, there is a lot of things that a woman can teach a man, but we can't teach a man how to be a man. There's things a man can teach a woman, but he can't teach a girl how to be a woman. And so I loved what Mr. Wilson said, how his mother protected him. See, as women, our perspective or our idea of protection does not look like a man's idea of protection. So that's why it's so, and I too am an advocate of a 2-parent family, although I understand sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. But I see this in what I do when couples come together, and that's another reason why I stress when you are dating someone and you believe it's you're going down the road of marriage, to get premarital counseling, because believe it or not, your past, your how you were raised, it does really affect what you bring to the marriage, your thinking, your idea. And so this, like me and my husband, he grew up with both his parents. I didn't grow up with my father. So I grew up with a strong mother. And when you grow up with a strong female in your life, a lot of times as women, we learn how to emasculate a man, and we don't do it intentionally. So I had to learn how to really be his helper, what he needed me to be as his helper, because he grew up in a 2-parent household. So he understood, or he wanted me to be like his mother, which I couldn't be, thankfully. But it is very important what you're doing, the work that you are doing, Chuk. It's very important, it's very necessary. And I see this in the couples who come to me for help.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Did you get that, Chuk?
I did, and I appreciate you saying that, to be fair.
Very informative, and nothing is being directed at anyone, just generalizing, okay? So with that statement, I just wanted to move on to, who was your first role model? Or what, before I ask that, what does having a role model mean to you?
Are you talking about in general, or are you talking about as a man or father-wise?
Any which way you want to respond to it.
Okay.
I help you. I'd encourage you by saying you wrote, "You're living proof of the things that can happen from lack of positive and conscious male input on a consistent basis."
Yeah,
Yeah?
I would say that's probably a good word to use, because consistency is probably the thing that stunted my ability to when I was young, to have that role model, because my mum tried. My mum, like, my first role model, let's just say, like, make it plain, is my mum was my first role model, right? But when it comes to manhood, what my mum did is she realized that I didn't have any consistent males in my life. My mum never had a boyfriend that I saw growing up. There was never no man in the house. It was literally nobody was in the house apart from me and my mum, and maybe I had a couple of godmothers that would come through every now and then. So what she did is she created a youth organization, because my mum was a social worker, right? So she created a youth organization with positive black males to teach us as the first, like, this first generation of 16, 17-year-olds. And we went away to the New Forest, which is in England, and we had like different activities and all these kind of things to teach us how to be men. It was the rites of passage ceremony, so maybe some people will know what that is. So that was my first experience of being around men, in that sense, that weren't my teachers at school, that weren't the youth club people.
Did you do that with Manhood Academy?
No, it was with a company called the Youth Retreat Project.
Right. Okay.
But there are many rites of passage many organizations do rites of passages throughout the world. So that was probably the first time that I looked at any man as somebody who I could aspire to be. Because before then, I was very dismissive of male, I don't know what the word would be, but the ability for a male to be of any use to my life, I'm talking as an elder person. So that kind of sparked I'd say, and then what that did is that then when we came back from that, then I was able to look at my friends' fathers, and once again analyze them. But I couldn't. I think my problem is that I could never see myself in being anybody else. I felt very, I don't know, I'm gonna say the word unique, but that's not exactly the word I'm trying to say. I couldn't model myself on anybody else. And I don't know whether that is because there was literally no male influence in my life growing up. Or what, but I just know that I respected my friend's dad, and maybe I even tried to imitate certain aspects at some points in my life, but I never, especially, well, growing up, I was never able to say I could be like him or I could be like him. I was always very much like.
Did you feel like an outcast amongst your friends that were in a two-parent situation? Is that
kind of.
You didn't fit in to their world.
Sort of.
A lot of time.
Yeah, I'd say how I made it make sense in my head was that I viewed friendship different. In my head I viewed friendship differently, because I didn't have, and I think maybe it's less to do with the fatherhood thing, and maybe it's the only child thing, but I definitely viewed myself as placing more value on other people than they put value on me, if that makes sense. So I very much kind of yeah, so I did. So what I felt is that I felt that I was very, I don't want to say, yeah, I just kind of, maybe, yeah, and I definitely overcompensated. I definitely tried that little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something, again, you know, not just hearing it from you, Chuck. It's men. I've been in conversations with men and young boys being in education as well, and also myself as a, you know, I had a roller coaster, you know, marriage with the father of my son and sons, and you know, as old as they are, there are things that they're saying now to me that they didn't get in a two-parent household, or even single at times, because it was up and down, that has impacted their relationships. You know what I'm saying? So this can be a double-edged sword when it comes to a father who's present and one who's absent. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's that analogy that I heard about the pessimist and the optimist. Two twins grow up in a household where their father is an alcoholic. When they get older, one turns to drink, the other one doesn't. So when you ask the optimist, why didn't he drink? He said, because my father drank. And then when you ask the pessimist, why do you drink? Because my father drank. You know what I'm saying? So
Outlook.
You never know where it's gonna go. You never know where it's going. But I want to touch on. You spoke earlier on about patience or impatient behavior, and you mentioned that someone very important has been very patient with you, without giving anything away or giving the person away. Can you give me some examples of your impatience?
Okay. My impatience. Yeah, I'm very much somebody who I'm someone who I'm impatient with myself, firstly. I expect myself to be able to do things, to change things that I want to change quickly. And that's just not one of my finest qualities. I also just can't wait for other people. I will just say, I'll just get on and do it myself. And if it doesn't get done by myself, then I'll beat myself up for not waiting for the help that maybe I could have, that would have made me achieve my goal. So yeah, I'd say those are the main things that I would say I'm personally impatient about. I'm impatient at waiting for people, or I'm impatient with relying on people, in any regard really. And I'm impatient with myself, which then kind of shuts down how I think about certain things, I think, because I've got a very single-minded mind. So as soon as if I'm thinking about this one thing, that's all I'm thinking about. And when my goal isn't achieved, all the other things that are supposed to be running in the background kind of just fall to the wayside. So yeah, that's what I would say about my personal impatience. But if you were talking about a particular person who has been patient with me, I think with all of those things, I am a very hard person to communicate with. I would say in this sort of situation, I probably do sound like a nice, easy person to talk to, but as soon as emotions are involved and I'm not in this, you know, sharing environment, I am easily frustrated and I am very kind of forceful with my view of things, or being able to, I'd say the better way for me to say it is I'm very easily frustrated with if I'm not able to articulate myself in my fullness. So that is something that anybody who's around me kind of has to, well, I don't want to say deal with, but experience. Let's put it like that.
So this will then definitely explain why you say you have been blessed to have a wife that is not only patient with your own challenges, but also comes from a supportive and together family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be my biggest blessing, if I'm honest. And it don't get me wrong. Like I said, I ain't the easiest, so it doesn't always come across that way. But yeah, I'm definitely blessed in that regard. I've definitely been blessed with somebody who, and it's funny because my friends do tell me all the time, they're like, I don't know how your missus deals with you, because I'm very hard-headed. That's why, you know, I held a lot of licks when I was young, because I'm very hard-headed. I'm very much somebody who, you know, is kind of stuck in my ways in my views on in my overarching views of the world and how things should be and what warrants this and I'm very black and white in the sense of consequences, I think. So yeah, I'm definitely blessed that my wife is somebody who not only has been patient and tolerated a lot of my growth and this learning process that I'm still in, but also comes from a family that has given her the skills to be able to do that. So yeah, I'm blessed in that regard, definitely.
There's always someone for someone. Everybody has someone for them. What you want wants you. Yeah, she was just waiting in the wings for you.
For real, I definitely believe that.
Believe me. You said to us at the beginning of the platform and during that you're going to be a dad. Is this for the first time? Yeah.
Yeah, it's my first one. Yes.
Okay. Again, I said congratulations. And what is your greatest fear?
It's a good one. That's a good one. It's a good one, yeah. But you know what's funny, because that blog, if you check the date on that blog's way before. So my wife wasn't pregnant at that time. That blog is very much something now I feel like and yeah. So what I would probably say now is my biggest fear is her not trusting me. I think that's my biggest fear, because I'm having a daughter, so my biggest fear is her not trusting me as being someone she can speak to, or not trusting that I would never leave or desert or not support her, because I feel like that's, from my experience, that's the biggest danger to a daughter, I would say.
Well, as a mother of one daughter and a mother of 3 sons, take that out of your mind. My daughter would go to my son's dad, who's not her dad, but grew her like the dad, and he'd know things about things. He'd come and tell me things. She'd tell him. He'd come and a father and daughter's relationship is tight, just like a mother and son's relationship. So you have nothing to worry about. Trust me.
Appreciate you for that. Appreciate you for that.
Thanks, Jem.
You're welcome, baby.
I definitely second that emotion as well. Well, they say daughters are for their dads and sons are for their mums, and I've got 2 daughters.
Until the wife comes along. About us.
Each to their own devices. Chuck, you're going to make a great dad, honestly, a great father figure.
Thank you.
And, you know, I just want to ask you, because you've got a very special sibling that you dote over, your sister. Well, I'm sure you do with all of them, but there's one particular that you really, really make me jealous of when I read all the stuff that you know.
Yeah, that's my first sibling. You know,
Yeah,
that's when I said to you that I kind of just said my dad was just moving a bit funny, so I just kind of bypassed him and approached that. That's the sibling there. So that's my first sibling.
Are you your dad's first child?
No.
Or you're not? Where do you fit in the lineup?
I think I'm 4th. I believe I'm 4th. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as we said, whether second, first, last out of the 10 that's remained in, you're going to be a great dad, whichever way you come, because you've got your own ideals of the world. And the fact that, you know, where you are right now is where you should be to bring your newborn into this world, because you've done a lot of growing up. Can I ask how old you are, Chuck?
I'm 38.
Okay. So age is nothing but a number. You look fantastic for 38. I think that's to do with your wife.
I agree. I agree. I ain't had the grays coming in yet, but the hairline's going. So
Next time I see you, be receding.
yeah, give it a couple of years, or I'll have the full-on monk in the middle, you know.
The full barley. Oh man, you got such a beautiful smile as well, honestly. I just want to, you know, I always like to bring scripture into my platform, and this topic, the sins of the father, always leaps out of me when I think of absent, not just fathers, absent parents. So here's what scripture says, and I'm reading from Ezekiel 18, 19, 20, verses 19, 20. And I'm reading it from the Message, and it says, do you need to ask? So why does the child not share the guilt of the parent? Isn't it plain? It's because the child did what is fair and right. Since the child was careful to do what is lawful and right, the child will live truly and well. So this is an exemplary statement spoken in a profound way to just let you know, with all the questions that I've asked you built around your absent father, how you have made it your appointed duty to not go down that road, even though you have identified some flaws, and then you were able to have siblings tell you, oh, you sound just like your dad, or there's certain traits that you've got. Never met your dad before, per se, but here are you being told that you have all of these things ways that he has, and so on and so forth. And with that scripture, they always said the sins of the father rain down on the child. And I used to think, I was really mindful of that before I kind of really educated myself up on it. And that's only if, because there's a lots of, there's a connective there, only if you like what you say or what I've heard others. I ain't gonna do that because my dad did that and this and that, and I'm gonna try my utmost endeavor to go the total opposite way, and mothers as well. Yeah. And what scripture I came up with next, and this for me speaks highly of your mum and your wife, and this is what I call the bonus scripture, which is Proverbs 22:6. Now you said somewhere in this show today that, you know, your mum raised you, she gave you all the love and the emotion, she got you in touch with that side of yourself, your feminine self. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it says, Proverbs 22:6 reads this: point your kids in the right direction. When they are old, they won't be lost. Right? The King James one, which you probably have heard, is train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So your mum, in her infinite wisdom, yeah, mm-hmm, gave you some training that you probably, as you said, wasn't, you know, she was your number one role model in all of what she did. And you threw a butt in there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Your mum trained you up for the wife that you've been blessed to have, and the family that came with your wife. Yeah? And all of those little gems that are hidden in you, even though you wanted your masculinity and you wanted the man up and the whole armor of a man and everything else, you could have had that and been someone totally different. You see what I mean?
I would have been someone totally different. Definitely.
Totally different. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So I say all that to say, in terms of where you are now at this age and stage of your life, just, you know, 2 years into marriage, having a baby, that is the way most people would have loved to have done it. I had 4 kids before I got married. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And there are many others like that as well, because they want to, before they make that jump, they want to make sure that this is Mr. Right or whatever. You've done it, you've got your wife, and your baby ain't being born out of wedlock. Kudos to you. I didn't even know what that wedlock thing meant until after I had all 4 of them. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're on a great path. You know what I'm saying? You're putting some really, you know, your daughter's foundation is one that she can, that's an empress to be proud of. So far, her life, my mum and dad, husband and wife, you know what I'm saying, married, brought in a union of seal. That's a seal covenant right there. Yeah, for your daughter to start her beginnings. That's a queen coming. Yeah, that's a queen coming. So I just want to, you know, crown her glory right now in letting you know the bigger picture. God's plans are always better than ours. You know what I'm saying? And he ensures a happy end for us. So you just keep going on that path. And you know, you said again, you know, there's so much that I could take from what you wrote about in your fatherhood blog. And it's really kind of, I just want to say how proud I am of you, and I'm sure our guests who are listening in. I've got some questions in here, Chuck. Mm-hmm. I think this is for Dr. Shaw, a message for a single parent. She wants to know, what message would you give to us to help build and sustain a mother and son relationship? Main factors, Dr. Shaw.
She said, would you repeat the question?
She said, what message would you give to her or us to help build and sustain a mother and son relationship?
To help build and sustain a mother and son relationship, I would suggest allowing him space to grow. A lot of times as women, we smother. And saying, I want to share this story. I have a client, she's a single mother, has 2 teenage sons, one's 14, one's 16. She still walks them to school. Now, as a teenage girl, I would be embarrassed if my mother walked me to school. So I had to ask her what was her reasoning for walking her son to school. So in her eyes, she was justifying her actions. And all along, when I asked her to have a conversation with her sons, they hated it. They were embarrassed by it. And so give your son some space to learn. We all make mistakes, and how we learn from our missteps is by allowing them to make them. And so I would say the one thing that is really important, allow them space to learn, to grow, to make missteps, and don't consider them mistakes, missteps. Because when you make missteps, you can always be placed back on track.
Yep, I like that. I like that. Missteps instead of mistakes. Yeah, I like that play on word, Dr. Shaw. Like it. Stephanie has said, congratulations, you will be a great father. Most important, to first love and raise your princess. Beautiful. Z has said, the stone which the builder refused has become the headstone, the head cornerstone. This is a scripture I read when raising my son. That scripture, again, is very powerful to me because it's one that my mother-in-law always used to say to me as well, Z. And Cam, Benji, absolutely, girls and their dad, it is a next level. And I can imagine the emphasis on that, it being a next level, really powerful.
Diana, may I ask Chuck a question?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
He mentioned fear, and I wanted to ask, where do you believe that fear is coming from?
I think the fear is coming from, I think, my just experiences in life. Obviously, before I met my wife, and even just friends that I've had in life in general, the conversations that I've had with just women in my life, I feel like a lot of my once again, my analysis of just my interactions has led me to believe that a huge element of the problems that the women that I've come into contact with have had, whether it's been abuse in their life and them not being able to tell somebody about it, whether it's been fear of disappointing people, all of these things, in my opinion, would able to have been supported if they were able to communicate in certain ways with the people that are important to them.
Okay, and let me ask another question. With the platform that you are creating, and you're speaking to men, what would be 3 things that you would want them to take away from what they learned from you?
I would say, kind of funny, kind of piggybacking off what I kind of just said. Be comfortable speaking. It's funny because one of my godmothers phoned me, and and I don't think I'd spoken to her since my wedding, right? So it's probably been 2 years since I've spoken to her. She phoned me and she was just saying like she's really proud of me about the podcast, and we ended up getting into a really deep conversation about how it's important that people speak, because her generation didn't speak, and her generation didn't, they felt alone in their experiences because the person that they were closest with never knew their experience, the deepest, darkest secrets in their family, right? So I think the inspiration behind Too Much Info podcast was I learned best from this sort of dynamic, speaking to people, hearing somebody's interpretation of what I say, me articulating what I think, and I feel like if you look at my platform, the conversations that I have with people are very informative. It's not in a lecture format. It is kind of like you have to decipher what makes sense to you from the conversation. And I think that's the main thing. Being comfortable speaking, and if you're not comfortable speaking, being comfortable hearing a truth that resonates with you. So that's what I really want people to get from my platform. That's why it's called Too Much Info. I kind of want to ask the questions that people are maybe a bit worried to ask, you know?
That's the one. That's the one, my dear. It's time. And I'm going to put a spin on it to say, now you know why we have to go through what we go through. Because, yes, James, go for it.
Can I just say to you, Chuck, you know, as far as having your dad absent, don't ever think you missed out on anything. Always look at it like I do. He missed out on my greatness.
That's yeah, it's real talk.
Yeah?
I do believe. I appreciate you for saying that as well.
It's their loss, not ours at the end of the day, because we kept on going, and look where you are now. Yeah,
I appreciate. I agree.
Always have that. When you're feeling low, remember, he's lost, not mine. He missed out on your greatness.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I feel like I've got less of a requirement for him in that regard. I feel like my anger towards him now is more for the younger siblings I've got. Like I've got 2 siblings that are like under the age of 10 that haven't seen their dad in maybe, I don't know, 5 years. Do you know what I mean? So it's though that's where the emotion comes from. That's where kind of the frustration comes from. Like I don't need, like I'm a grown up now. I'm living my life. You wouldn't be able to father me if you tried. But
it sounds to me like your dad, not being disrespectful, he's living his life like a rolling stone. Wherever he lays his hat for that moment is his home.
That's
my signature song.
That's exactly what. It's not disrespectful. It's accurate. History. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe now it's different. But I feel like what I was kind of trying to articulate before, talking about what, because it was a fear of mine before when I found out what he was like and found out the characteristics that I share with him. There was a period of a year at least where I was scared. I nearly swore, but I was just worried. Where I was thinking, what if I create that? And thank goodness that's not a fear that I've got anymore. But he hasn't been able to learn the lesson. Like I don't know whether it's, I think 7 or 8 different times he's made the same mistake. Whether it's, and the issue is not relationships breaking down. The issue for me is not even not staying with the mother of your child. The issue for me is running away from the responsibility. And that's my only problem with it, you know?
Yeah, okay.
And that's the mistake I will never make. I can stick my flag in the sand and say that will never be me.
Then this discussion, this topic could really do a part 2, because I've got some private inboxes. And Dr. Shaw, I need you to pick up on these 2 for me. Thank you for that, Chuck. Yeah, and maybe you could ask this as well. I've got 2 mothers with 2 young sons, and they want to know, what do you tell, how do you explain to your child, your young child, why his dad is not about? Dr. Shaw?
I did hear. I was waiting for Chuck to answer.
Oh.
And then I'll come in. I'll give some insight.
Okay, that's one of them, Chuck. The other one is, again, mainly for growing up a young son. So yeah.
Like I say, I can't speak from experience in the sense that I never asked my mum that question until maybe 6 months before she died. I tried to start having that conversation. So I can only kind of put myself in the shoes of trying to be the parent, trying to explain to a child why the other parent isn't there. So all I could say is, obviously, you have to be age appropriate. So if it's a young child, you ain't gonna be like, you're not gonna tell them, you know, he ran off with another woman and whatever, like, you're not gonna tell him grown folk business because they're a child. But I think you have to take the blame away from the child, because as a child, you have no understanding of the relationship between adults. So the only reference point you can have is that it's something to do with you. Because you are the center of your universe at that age. So I think the only thing you can do is make sure the child knows it's nothing to do with them. That's really the best way I can kind of think about it.
Thank you for that, Chuck. I hope that for the listener that's been helpful for you. If not, you can give me some more and I can pose it to Chuck again, and hopefully Dr. Shaw will have some flesh to add to that as well. Thanks, Dr. Shaw.
Yes, and I agree. I totally agree with what Chuck said. Reassure the child it has nothing, that he or she, it has nothing to do with them. And children do need reassurance. There are ways that we recognize a child is acting out, but a lot of times we sweep things under the rug, and so they need validation as a child. Children need validation as adults. Some of us need it. Some adults need validation. We need reassurance. And so I would say to the mother, reassure the child that it has nothing to do with him or her. The reason why the father is not in the picture, the reason why you are not with the father, he doesn't come around. Children just really, it's not about the why. As he said, we don't have to tell them the grown-up story. All they want to know, really, that it has nothing to do with them. He loves you, I love you. At this season in our lives, we are walking this path without dad.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, G.
Yeah, I want to like ask you a question. Today I learned a lot about your story, and we have some character. Yeah, you make me think like me too. I need to fix some characters. I just want to say, but if because you are like telling us like your father was not there, and I want to know that kids, that guys, they have a father, but like you can see every day at home, but they don't they look like they are not there. I don't know if you understand. Sorry for my English.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So for example, in my experience, my father was always there. I can feel like I saw my father every day. But when I look at him, I said, I always think I don't want to be like him as a father. So in that situation, how can we help? Like a lot of kids, maybe they have the same experience. They have a father at home, but they don't look like a father. Like they look like they are not there. Yeah.
But out the home.
Sorry?
That like two parents in the same home, but not living like a family. Is that what you mean?
No. Like about my experience. About my experience, my family was together, like married, but my father was like, he was not there. He's
place.
Yeah. It's always
I
don't know if you wanted. Can I just quickly just say before Dr. Shaw jumps in to answer that. I just want to say that I identify with that because there was somebody in my family like I don't know, I call all the elders in my family aunties, or people around me aunties, right? My mum's friends and whatever. So but there was a family where the father was like that. Like he was never outside of the house. He went to work, he came home, he was in the house, they ate dinner, but there was no real interaction. His fathering style wasn't talking to his children, and I don't know, I never saw him playing games. Whenever I went there, he was sitting on his chair reading a newspaper, and the mother and the children were kind of doing what they were doing. Do you understand? So I understand that I've seen what you're talking about, and when you're talking about trying to help, I think maybe are you asking for yourself, or are you asking for children that are maybe in that situation now and you want to know how to help them, or are you asking
how to help them? Because now I'm in this situation, like I'm getting out of that situation, but I want to know how to help other guys, other youths, because they're in the beginning of life, how to how to get out of the situation.
Be the example, man. I would say be the example. Create what you want to see for them in your life, and they will at least be able to look at you and see a different way.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
And also, G, Chuk has got a podcast. How many episodes have you done, Chuk?
23, I think. 23.
Yeah. So I'm gonna send you Chuk's info, which is too much info _ media. Is it? How is it?
The Instagram is too much info media _ podcast.
Yeah.
The website is www.toommuchinformation.co.uk. Facebook is Too Much Info Podcast. So yeah, any of those platforms, any of those ways to contact me. And I'm on, I think it's on Spotify as well, and SoundCloud as well. On those, I think it's Too Much Info Podcast on all of those. But yeah, if you jump onto the Instagram, give me a follow. and then
Okay.
direct message me. We can definitely communicate. And
yeah, that would be good for you, King, because the journey that you're embarking on, you've got a really good mentor here, which I think you two should hook up at some stage. Yeah.
yeah, man, hold up,
Yeah?
definitely, certainly.
That's why I love this show. Z, Z, you've raised your hand, my dear.
Have. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to identify myself as the mother that posed that question because it didn't really answer the question of what I was looking for. As a mother that's raising a 6-year-old solely and has been totally abandoned by the father, questions do come. The why question does come in. Why? And although as a mother, you will fill your child with love and let your child know, like, I feel like I'm living a fairy tale because I am forever saying your dad loves you, your dad's far away, he's not in the country, or I always feel like I'm giving an excuse. But my son is identifying that his family setup is different from all the children at school that come from 2.4 parents. So Mike, when I pose that question, I'm asking at the end of the day, do we as mothers have to keep up this fairy tale? How can I tell the real truth? I haven't heard anyone even saying, should children as young as 6 have some form of counselling or therapy? I've got 2 older children, but their fathers were a bit like how, Joe said, involved but not involved. They weren't, I call them inactive dads. The children knew their fathers, but they didn't play their role properly. And now with this child, it's no contact whatsoever. And I feel absolutely lost.
Yeah, powerful.
There's only so much that I can do because the question does not stop. The questions do not stop.
Yes, sorry, go on. Definitely, I'll shut my mouth on this one.
I think, me personally, I think you're doing the best thing that you know how to in the situation that you're in. And like you say, you just keep reassuring your child that dad loves you, and he's given mum enough love for both of you while he's absent. You understand? And then obviously when he grows older, the truth do you understand? But you don't want to keep...
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to keep on making a lie. Suppose this man never turns back up or never makes the entrance. I don't want to, raise false hope. That's what I'm trying to say. So am I, Dr. Shaw, doing the right thing? I know people saying you can't, I'm not going to sit down and talk about big people's affairs, but is there a way that I can be truthful that, your dad's got another family? I don't know. I don't know if this route is the best route. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I totally agree, Z, that you do not want to allow your child to grow up living in a fantasy. You use the word abandon. Now, I as doing what I do, I have to ask you a question. Do you feel abandoned? Because a lot of times we will portray how we feel. We will project that onto our child. And so I have to ask you a question. What type of atmosphere are you or have you created in your home for a 6-year-older to constantly ask, why? Where's my father? I understand that he may be seeing something different at school, but what type of atmosphere in your home have you created to make him feel where he has this sense that he's missing out on something? So do you believe...
To answer that, I don't feel an abandonment, but that's what I sense from him, because I give the love, I give the balance, I don't talk bad. He wouldn't know any of the negative sides of, what happened or why there's been rejection or anything like that. That's not discussed in the home. However, when he goes out to school, we live in a predominantly white area, and he's like the only black child in his class. And to be honest, he's the only child where a dad does not come to school every morning. And I think, you know, I've had to actually have words with the teachers, because a lot of the questioning is coming from the children. Where's your dad? How come your dad doesn't come to school? And in fact, he comes back and, you know, he seems like he's unbothered, but the older he's getting, he's like, well, why doesn't my dad come to school? Because my friend said my dad's meant to come to school. So I've yet to, again, I had said there's different family setups, and this is our family setup. You are loved. You do have a dad, but your dad's not here. So I don't project abandonment, but maybe I used the wrong word, but he's got a feeling of, well, my family doesn't reflect that, and my dad's not here. My dad does not come. I even heard him saying once, well, I don't have a dad. And that's untrue. You do have a dad. You just don't have a dad who's here at the moment. I don't want him ever to think that he hasn't got a dad or a father, because he's still alive and breathing from what we know. So it's just, maybe the people at school are fast in the business and asking questions, because you know you get some of those parents as well, where, sorry, I've got a cold, where they never see the dad. So they're coming out and maybe asking questions, but I find it really comes from school, not from my home environment or my family, but when he's in school. And he's just started back to school and the questions have come back again.
Okay.
During lockdown, there was no questions.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
So
So,
I just as you said, I just thought, am I going to continue with this fantasy story forever and ever?
no. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever asked your son, would he like a father? Even though you've told him he has a father, he's just not in the home or present. Have you ever asked him, would you like a father?
Yes, I have.
And what was his comment?
He said yes.
Okay.
He would like a father to do the things that his friends do, even though, you know, he's got an older brother. You know, as you said before, I have specifically put strong role models. My own father's back in Jamaica, so as and when we do go abroad, he's there. But we have got a highly predominant female family here, so I have handpicked out some men, you know, like uncles, godfathers, and they're very, very good in, you know, coming and collecting him, and they've got sons too, so they do activities. But you see his glow up when he's got that, you know, male back in. My oldest son, he's just gone on to university last week, and I can see that he's really saddened that
Yes.
you know, that male bond, his brother, like he asks us every day, when is Ty coming home? And I'm like, he'll be home in like 3 years, or he'll be home at Christmas. But you can see, you know, the rough playing. I've got an older daughter, but she's not going to be doing all those, you know, boy things and playing football and stuff. So it's hard work. It's not an easy road.
Right. Yes,
You know?
I do understand. And you posed the question, is therapy okay? Yes, therapy is okay, because you don't want him to grow up feeling like he missed out on something, especially when the norm is in the community where he is, where you guys are living, that fathers are in the home. And so then children will begin to start second guessing themselves. Am I good enough? And so always in a mental competition.
Yeah. Well, that's answered the question for me, because I find here in the UK a lot, people tend, especially within our community, they don't want, they think you've got to have a problem to go and get therapy, when I am a person, I'm a talker. So even me saying, I had to come out and say, no, let me speak this out, you know, my truth of where I am and the journey. And I just want my son to be balanced. I don't want him to, you know, feel he's any less than anybody else, or any less because his father, quite similar to you, Chuck, his father has many children as well that he doesn't look about. So I'm like, it's a repeated behavior, but I can see with my child that he is really, really yearning to be attached to someone, because this is what he sees around him. So
yes.
I suppose yet again, it is just continuing with the positive role models that I do place around him and keeping him occupied.
Okay. Chuck, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to speak to that, 'cause that kind of resonated with me. I think what I did experience was that yearning for male interaction, or that yearning for I don't know, male authority is probably the best word. The best way for me to, because what I struggled with was, see, when I got to a certain age, I struggled with my only authority figure being a woman. Now, I never didn't respect my mother, and she was never unable to create that internal, I want to say, I don't know if probably fear is the right word. You know, my mum was always able to, you know, she was the only person that used my full name, pronounced every syllable in my name, and hit me with it. And whenever, every time I heard it, it made me shake a little piece, right? But there came a point where I gravitated towards men who or males that I respected. Does that make sense? So the good thing with you, just speaking directly to Z, is that he has older brothers, and yeah, they've gone to university or college, or I can't remember exactly what he said, but he has a male figure in his life from early and forever. Do you understand? So I think at this age, because as I said, I can't remember being 5 or 6. So when I say that I never asked my mum, who knows? I probably did. When I was those ages there, I probably was like, why have I not got a dad? Or why is he giving me this card and he hasn't turned up? Or whatever the conversation was that at this stage now, I can't remember. But only, as I say, I can only speak for myself. And there comes a point where, from what I hear, children are very resilient. I'm very resilient.
They are.
So it's not a situation that I believe, with you being ever present, you being always evolving and growing as a person, and trying to provide your children with all the experiences that you can fathom. I don't feel like, obviously, at the end of the day, the facts of the situation are, he is lacking a father. So that is a lack, that is a gap that he's got. But like King Joe was saying, he could quite easily have a father and be in a much worse situation. And that's something that it took me a long time to make sense of. And then when I actually got to meet him, speak to him on the phone and interact with him, I realized I would have been worse off. Now I might have won a few fights a bit earlier, or I might have interacted in a male environment more comfortably internally with him being in my life. But would I have been who the parts of myself that I like, a lot of them came from me being around my mum and my mum's persona and my mum's character. So it's a double-edged sword, and I don't think you should, I'm not trying to say that you are beating yourself up, but I would say just do what you are doing.
Sorry, can I ask that young lady, is that okay if I ask you a question?
Who, me?
Yeah. Your son's dad, do you know any of his siblings, his families that interact, communicate with your child, or ask about? Because like with Dad, I had my dad's brother who was, although he lived far away, he would ring and check up on us. You see what I mean?
There's a grandmother, but she's not too well. And when I say not too well, she's quite old, and I can see that she's not able to. how can I put this? I can see that she's not able, she's not responsible enough, if you understand what I mean. You know, yeah, I can read into it that, you know, she's just trying to exist. I've got, you know, aunties and, you know, stuff that, you know, call and check in. But I also don't want to put the responsibility on everyone like that. But yes, it's just that the grandma's not well enough to take on a responsibility. It will be me going and visit her, which I do from time to time. I will go and visit and take. But if it's anything like, you know, doing weekend visits, no. Or, you know, asking to pick up from school, no. Or initiating, you know, her to call, no.
What about her actually creating? Why is there any way of not like encouraging the relationship to exist? He's just somebody who doesn't want to do it.
Between her and her son.
No, but no. So, but let's say.
Oh, you mean for the mother to talk to her son? That's what I'm saying. She's not that woman. You can see that at the end of the day, in finding out the raising. Yeah. He controls his mum. The mother doesn't control things. So she will talk out freely of. She will say, "This is not the way I raise my children," but clearly you can see that her style of parenting wasn't enough. It's not for, say, like my family's parenting or how we operate in our family. If there was to be anyone in my family had, you know, deserted their children, we as a family come together. You know, and even when I look at my own family, I had that uncle who had numerous children out of his wedlock, be a mother here, there, and everywhere. And my grandmother made sure that all 42 of us grandchildren were recognised and known. Every Sunday, we were all at her house. And my grandma, my aunts, they made sure. So there was no outside children in my direct family. It was me growing up. You know, so each family deals with things different.
Of course.
And thank you for that, Z. That's it's very clear how personal this is to you, and you're very passionate about getting the right information for moving forward with your son. And mother and son relationship. And we're living in a time now where the pressure that is on us, if as parents, whether it's mother, father, if we don't get it right now, what child are we sending out into society?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's the blame game. Oh, because my dad wasn't there. But then you hear King Joe say, well, his dad was there. You know, so what do we do in the interim of raising the child, whether there is a presence or an absence? The onus still comes down to us, whoever it is, whether it's a mother raising the child or the father, because remember there are some fathers that have been abandoned by the mums as well. Do you know what I'm saying? And having to raise the child by themselves. I do know fathers that are raising their children without the mother. So it boils down to whoever that parent is. And this can be a hard one as well, because there are, as you've heard Dr. Shaw say, those parents could have had a backload and a barrage of issues that they have not dealt with and will struggle to be the best they can be, whether it's a mother or a father. So, you know, we could go on, it could go in so many directions with this topic. But for now, I'm hoping, Z, that the information that you've just received at least gives you an understanding of the great thing that you're doing as a parent. There's only so much you can do as a mother.
Yeah, and most definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
It's reassurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
That as well.
Absolutely. So I'm very, very mindful of the time. And I mean, we've gone over by a lot of time. But this is...
You could chat all night.
Honestly, you know, there's one person, again, that would like to ask a question. Chantal. Yeah, please. Yeah, she's here. Thank you. Go for it.
I'm trying to find a way in how to ask the question, but my situation is kind of like Z's, but different. No, it's kind of like Z's. I've got a 5-year-old. I'm a single parent. He doesn't have many males around him at all. It's mainly females. And I think I kind of doubt myself at times, because I try to do the best that I can do. I guess I don't really see it as much, but I try to tell myself that I'm doing the best that I can do for him. His father is in and out, and he doesn't live in the same country, so he doesn't live in the same country as us. So it's just via video calling, but he still fails to do that and keep up with that with his son. And his behavior, I say my son's behavior is kind of changing. I won't say it's because of him, but I don't know what it is. But I'm bringing that up because Dr. Shah, you did mention about the statistics of how young boys without fathers do grow up. And I think that kind of, hearing that made me emotional, because I don't want him growing up and, you know, being aggressive and being angry, which I can see that on him now. And he's 5 years old. Sorry.
Are you in London?
Precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look up 100 Black Men of London. They're a good organisation for mentoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Use them for my son when he was getting backward, you know, acting like he didn't have a mind. He's 14 now, and they still are active, you know. So that's a good organisation. But do not cry. You are doing the best that you can. Do not ever let anybody tell you any different. You're doing the best that you know how with a situation that you live through. You're just going through it. We live and we learn. There's no manual on parenting.
Yeah. I tell myself that all the time. There's no right or wrong ways, you know, trial and error of what we do. So I do, it's not like I don't understand these, I do understand, but it's like, it does get me down when, you know, I go to pick him up from school and they say, you know, he's done this or he's done that, he's being, you know, aggressive towards another child. And they mentioned the word and said he showed no remorse. He's 5 years old. And that made me emotional, because it's like, what do you mean by he showed
the child
no?
already.
Yeah, like, yeah. And then, you know, so it will get me upset. And yeah, I'm just like, okay, what do I do for him? And I have been looking up and trying to find, you know, Black men that can be mentors towards him, and I can help, because I think he really does need it. And exactly what Z says, when he does come around a male, you can see how happy he is. He's so happy, like he lacks that. I've got a brother and he's not there, and you know, I don't expect anything more from him because he's not there for his own kids. So, but it just makes me emotional that my son doesn't have much males around him. When he doesn't have males around him, he doesn't have that strong role model that can help him in ways that I can't, because I'm trying to do the best that I can do, being a mum, being a female. But he lacks that from men because he doesn't have that in his life. And I'm just trying to find a route to go to that can help him direct his mind, where he doesn't have to be angry all the time. You know, he's a loving boy. He's so loving. He's so caring. And, you know, he's so clever and intelligent. I have to raise that point. But then he gets a bit too excited, and he does do things and show and display certain behaviors where it does worry me that how is he going to be in years to come? I don't want him growing up in a way where, you know, he's being aggressive towards other people, or, you know, making other people's, you know, sad. Or yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Do you mind? Can I speak directly to you, Chantal? Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was, because I literally had a conversation with someone a while back, right? And you used my life as a perfect example, right? Because I understand your fear, because my mum had the same fear. My mum, not saying that any of these things are good or bad, but my mum didn't smoke, my mum didn't drink. My mum was a social worker. She was all of these. Like she was Ras when I was born. She had an experience with Islam. She had experience with Christianity. She's very well traveled, and all of these good things. And I was I went off the rails by all conventional markers and all of the, whatever the word is, all like statistics, all of those things. I was way over there. As I said, I got kicked out at 17, all of these things, right? And I'm not saying these things to scare you either. What I'm saying is that my mum, your job as a parent is to give your child the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Your job is to instill every positive value, whether they do it or not, whether they adhere to those rules, whether they live by what you see as the truth and the right way to be. Your job is to show them the example and guide them and give them all your child needs to know is what's right and wrong, because your child might know what's right and wrong and still do wrong, like I did. I knew all the stuff I was doing was wrong, but I still went and done it because I had to. But the good thing about it is that because I had the foundation of a mother that I knew what was right and what was wrong according to my family and my culture and my reality, when I did actually get to the point of wanting to do right, I knew what was right. And I got friends that want with all their heart and mind and everything to do right. They don't know what's right because they never had what was right. So all your job is to make sure that they've got that
safe
environment to go back on. Because you can't, and the other thing I was saying to them was that guilt that you are experiencing now is something that you kind of have to, it can motivate you to do better and all of these good things, but that's going to hinder you. You have to understand that, it's your child, but they're not you. You've got a part of yourself in them. They're not a part of you. You understand? Like, he's his own person. He's going to experience life and he's going to do things and make mistakes and do all of these things. You have to take the guilt out of it and concentrate all your energy on providing the best experience you can. That's it. And like you said, like Gemini said a little while ago, there's resources out there. Like I said, my mum at that time, there maybe weren't resources out there. So she created her own resource and sourced men that she knew in her professional experience to kind of create this experience. But there are organizations that exist now that you can approach and speak to and find a way for your child to experience those things in the best way that they can. And like you said, you're not going to have these expectations of them to necessarily be with your child forever and a day. But what you can actually do is create these experiences, and what it will do, what it did for me was that when I was ready, when I'd been through all my isms and schisms and this, that, and the other, and I actually sat down and looked back at my life and looked at what I wanted to achieve and who I wanted to be, I had a blueprint there.
That's right.
I knew. My foundation was strong. That's all your job is to create that foundation.
Foundation. So,
Chantel, can I ask, is he your first child?
Yeah, my first.
Yeah, I can understand.
I want to
stand tall, sis. It's not easy, but just stand tall. And as Gemini said, there's no blueprint, there's no Bible how to be the best parent. You are the best parent for your child. But just continue to show him love, continue to get support from whoever your support system is, and also tackle the school. Find out how the school, if they're, how they're going to work with you in order,
He's got a mentor, so he's getting a mentor.
Okay, that's good.
So I've sorted that out and spoken to teachers about that with that. But I'm also trying to think of whether I'm going to keep him in that school anyways. But then I'm in two minds to keep him in the school and not to keep him in the school, because he's, coming back home and talking about, not liking the colour of his skin and, brown people are dirty. And I don't know if he's getting that from school. So it definitely, because he wasn't saying these things before. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna, I'm kind of trying to sort that out as
Work on
well.
his
But he has,
self-confidence and his self-esteem. Yeah.
yeah, the thing is, he's got that confidence and stuff, and he does understand. Like he does say, you know, he says his affirmations every day. You know, he talks to God. He says, you know, please make me behave. Like, please help me to be a good boy. He says all of these things, and you know, he does understand about his color of his skin. He loves being black, but he does sometimes say, you know, I want to be white as well. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Shan,
I
sorry,
want to.
sorry to cut you there. I know you're gonna come in, joking. Dr. Shaw's got another platform that she has to prepare herself for, right? So she's had to jump off, yeah. So because she has her own, as you know, and we've gone way over by nearly an hour and a half. So Joe, I just want to have you come and say what you need to say quickly.
Yeah, I just want to encourage her, because when I was a kid, one day I'm gonna talk my story as well. When I was a kid, I was in that situation. I was born in Italy, and racism stuff, and I behaved, and my dad was crazy stuff. But the thing, like, I realized to change, because my mother was believing, like, he started to believe in me. He said, no, you're a good guy, you're not like this, you'll be a good guy one day. And I saw, like, all these people hate me, because when I go to school, I was so, like, I beat them, because they said that they always tell me, like, you're a black dirty, like black nigga, some stuff like that in Italian. And so you need to be the good example. Like, you need to be follow him, and said, like, I'm proud of you. Obviously try to don't do that way, try to do in another way, but like be there, like be there, because my mother helped me in that way, because people around me hate me, but apart from my mother. So yeah, you need to be lovely mother, like how people say it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. All I can say is tonight has been so informative. As you can see, you know, we would have normally shut down between 8:15, 8:30, the latest. But this is a topic that has resonated on so many levels, and it could go on. There's definitely going to have to be a part 2. But for now, I just want to say, Chuk, you know, thank you so much for sharing your journey. You've encouraged mothers on this platform to want to know what it is that they can do to be better at, or, you know, better prepared at raising their young kings. And this is so important. You've not just helped them with young sons, you've also helped King Doe there, as you heard. And we need to have these talks, these platforms, because so many people are hurting. So many people don't know what to do. So many people, you know, we come from generations, as you know, where this is wasn't spoken about. People got through trial and error. You understand me? And we get to these big old ages, and we're trying to undo so much, and we're just missing out on the joys of life. You understand? So with where we are now and how far we've come, and the great things that are happening, and the way the world is providing us with so many different methods of communication, let's keep these marathons moving. Do you understand me? And whatever way, each one teach one. You understand? I know you said that to me yesterday. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's something that I was in a conversation with someone again today. So it is just that each one teach one. We need to get these resources out there to these young mothers, these young babies. Don't feel shy to have therapy. Get that intervention in from the foundation. Do you understand me? Don't watch what a next person is doing with their children. That's not your business. Yeah? What what is your business and what you control is what goes on in your home. And from you get that foundation set there, doing the best that you can, because you can only do what you can do. Anything you don't do is because you don't know how to. You understand me? Most of the time it's because you just don't know how to. There's no parenting guide or good book on raising children. Everything is trial and error. As you've just heard on the platform, you could have a parent who's there and he's absent. You can have the parent who's absent and who's there. It's a double-edged sword. Everyone's encounter of parenting, upbringing, childhood is different. But what we do know is long-term, the impacts of our childhood is what determines who we become later on. That is one thing you cannot escape. Who you turn out to be depends on the choices you make, whether there were two parents or not. The choices that you make and what you're working with to make a better person for yourself, or you might just be happy to hold on to the excuses, well, because I didn't have a father, or because I didn't have a mum, or I come from a broken home and whatever else, right? So on that note, I just want to say thank you to our guest, Mr. Chuk, and
Thank you, Mr. Chuk.
and Analyst
Wilson. Buddy.
It's been a pleasure, King.
No,
honestly,
it's been a pleasure. I really do actually. I'm really impressed, not only by you personally, but just the circle that surrounds your platform. It's an amazing thing to see. I don't know how many are your actual friends, but my mum always used to say to me, "Show me your friends, I'll show you who you are." So yeah, so all right, so Gemini is your friend, but I think the people that are around you show who your character is. So
believe me, Chuck, there's been a lot. Gemini I've on this platform so far. Gemini I've known since I was six, 7, yeah. And our paths have meandered, and so it doesn't matter. She's here now in this part of my life, full circle. And believe me, because of the social media platform, she's always been there in the wings, you know what I'm saying? And everybody else has come because I'm a new person. I'm renewed in my mind. So therefore, what I used to do, I ain't no longer doing that. And therefore, I've got a different energy, different frequency. So therefore, the people I want around me have got to be building me up.
Absolutely.
You understand me? Got to be doing that. There's no wasting time for me no more. And everybody else on here holds a significant role in my life. Everybody matters on this platform. Whether I met you yesterday, I don't even feel like, Chuck, I only met you the other day. I feel like you've been in my life forever. Even with King Joe, you know, the Italian stallion. But for me, this isn't about me. And the more I try to let people understand this is not about you, the better you will be at being open to receive and open the door for a next person to come in. You understand me? So I know that today was for so many of you. And I just want to say thank you all for giving your time, because that time you can't get back. You understand me? And you've given it to me. And I hope that the rewards are what you're coming away from this platform with, and you're applying it into your life. Because it's all good and well you're sitting here and getting all this wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and then that's it. That's it, the end of it. You need to apply these results, you know, the information that we're giving you. Just apply it into your life. Try it and let it work, because it does work. You understand me? So I just want to say, for me, I've had an awesome night. I need to get myself ready, because I'm going to share with you before I go, because I've got to get some contents in. Next week, I'm going to try to do the platform on Zoom, but I've got a real big guest that some of you may or may not know, Surviving R. Kelly. I'm going to be interviewing Michelle Gramer next week, but she wants it done live on Instagram. So she's the mother of Dominic Gardner, the mother that you saw on Surviving R. Kelly, who went to rescue her daughter from the hotel. Yeah. So when I shut down, she's just texted me now, so I'm going to give her a call. I've got certain things I need to put into place for next week. If I don't do Zoom, because I've got a meeting with a young person on Sunday as well, which will tell me if I'm going to do Zoom for 7 p.m. next week. If not, I'm going to be on Instagram Live. So if you don't have an Instagram account, I suggest you get one, because this is the first interview of hers for 2020. I've been privileged. God is good. I serve a mighty God. How this one came my way, I'm telling you. Yeah. So next week, it's going to be a big one. Big, just like Chuk's one, because Chuk's one was big today. Yeah. Big. Yeah. So on that note, everybody, we're a family here on the Soul to Spirit Mind Gym. Everything you've heard, take note, apply it to your life. Chantal, that's my goddaughter right there. I'm so
and my mentor. She was my mentor in school as well. So
for speaking up, because I know that took a lot for her to open up and say that. And you're doing a great job. I can't tell you how fantastic a job you're doing. Z as well. You know what I'm saying? You know that I know they say self-appraisal is no recommendation, but you know what, you have to beat yourself up because no one else is going to do it. Yeah. And you're doing a great job. Z, you've just carted off your son to uni, so I don't know where you are completing both. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's my microphone.
yeah. All right. So stop knocking yourselves and beating yourselves up, and just hold yourself up and just rate yourself, because you're doing a great job in these serious times. Are you for real? Yeah. But you know, like I said, it's all about being honest to yourself, and I can't jump on that more than anything. Transparency, honesty, authenticity. What you don't know, you seek help. Get advice, take therapy. Don't care if someone says whatever. I don't care when you're not living for people. When you close that door, it's you and your bad broke wayward picnic behind closed door. You understand me? If I have to talk it or weird, I'm gonna talk it. So if you want to follow your bestie or whoever you've got, remember I told you about the people in your circle, the language that people are talking in dialogue, speaking over your life. We're not in this world to be watching and studying people, because trust me, majority of them are living a lie. Yeah, living a lie. The minute you shut down this platform, wig come off, the bottom half. You understand me? Forget all of that. If you can't be 101%, don't bother be about anything, because you spend too much time living in the false reality and in the reality of it all. Yeah. So it's up to you if you want to choose to follow fashion, but you're missing out. You're missing out if you are. So on that note, Sins of the Father, great topic, great episode. Thank you, Chuck Wilson. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Chuk. See you soon.
Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate the positivity.
Appreciate you big time. King Joe, don't forget to hook up with Chuck on Instagram.
Yes. I put my Instagram in the
I'm
chat.
linking the two of you.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah?
And
all right.
Everyone's followed already, man. Appreciate you. Don't think I didn't see you. Love.
All right, take care, everyone.
That's how we move.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Take care. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.